So today we give a quick update to the roller coaster ride of cryptos. Chris asks, what do we call Bill, our Australian opposition leader? And then asks, did Fatty Vaughton share too much? Lots of questions really. Stacy provides an update on fast trains in Australia, shows a website to calculate your tax relief from the federal budget, and don't get too excited on that one. We look quickly at the economic forecast used in the budget against other sources, and a hint, they don't necessarily align. And we look at the cool site that shows the world debt clock, which is actually a bit depressing. But then Chris shares his beef of the day and we have a laugh again. Then Stacy is surprised that maybe one of the big banks might have done something good. But Chris says no. So hang in there with the Two Crazy Guys, One Crazy World podcast to find out why.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Two Crazy Guys in One Crazy World podcast, where your hosts will entertain you with stories and news from around the living room and possibly other places too. So without further ado, your hosts, Stacy and Chris. Bring it on, guys.
Let's check out this. We can just edit one.
Oh yeah, it doesn't matter.
At the end, whenever we happen to do.
Alrighty, are we ready?
Are we ready?
3,
Are we
2,
ready?
1.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Two Crazy Guys, One Crazy World. This is episode number 8, which is our magical number because this means that following this episode, we're putting this stuff out there for you, our crazy listeners, to sit back, relax, pop on your headphones, plop in your earbuds, do whatever you got to do, but listen to Two Crazy Guys, One Crazy World. Welcome. How are you, Stace?
Welcome. Yeah, good mate, good. Yeah, we've managed to do 8. I thought if we could get to 8, then we're serious. We'll keep it going.
Well, we haven't done 8 yet. This is number 8, doofus.
Yeah, well, we're doing it. We're doing it.
We've done 7, unless, of course, you do our count from yesterday where we did 2 intros. So we've already done 8.
Done
yeah,
2.
see?
We've done 8, yeah.
We've done 8.
That works.
We've done 8.
Works
This
for
is
me.
actually number 8 because of the 2 intros, and we're going to confuse you all the time about that. But trust me, you'll get used to us. All right. So, Stacey.
So have you warmed up down there?
Hey?
you
No,
warmed
you're
up
kidding.
any
It's
dinner?
bloody cold today. Look, I've got a jumper on.
I feel for you, dude. I really do. I
Man,
feel
it
sorry.
was
And to
bloody
all my
cold
friends
this
in
morning.
Canberra, I sympathise.
Well, aren't you moving back down here?
No, we're visiting.
Yeah,
We're visiting.
Yeah, thanks, heaps. Thanks for your support, buggerlugs.
I'm supporting
I was going
you
to call
from
you a
afar.
bastard then, but
Oh,
I thought
don't
better
do
not
that.
swear. All right, so, Mr. Basel, I would like to start today a little
Yes.
bit differently.
Oh, okay, sure.
Right, I want you to give us the crypto news.
Oh, dear. Oh, okay.
Right, remembering, ladies and
We can do
gentlemen, Stacey said 5,000 or over. I said 4.
I said within 100. I did say within 100.
Yeah, 5,000 or 5,100. Right?
Yeah.
But I said 4,800, 4,900. Yesterday, Stacey was right. Where are we today, Mr. Bosel?
Well, today, can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay, so Bitcoin at 4955, holding above the 49.
Oh, we're
So
halfway between you and me.
I'm still within the 100, right?
Yeah,
what I
that's true,
said.
you are.
But
But it's dropped below 5. What's going on?
Oh, look, that's normal consolidation. You know, you go on a bit of a tear, and then the market sort of pulls back a bit. That's just normal market behaviour. So,
Okay, cool.
so
all you people who went out there and
bought.
bought at the high yesterday and you're now looking at it saying I've lost, give it a week. You would have gained. Trust me. All right.
Well,
so
hopefully. Yeah. Who
does
knows?
this
I mean,
mean?
it could go down again. It could go down again.
Does this mean though that people now realise that this entire surge in cryptocurrency was most likely because of an April Fool's joke, of which, if you have a look on the internet, I think it was Google did a survey yesterday to see why people thought the crypto, what has driven crypto up this week. Because in the 24 hours before yesterday, guess what happened with crypto? More money went in that 24 hours than at the height of the crypto boom 18 months ago. Right? At the height of the crypto boom, the most money that went in a 24-hour period was $70 billion. Yesterday, there was 80.
You're talking trading volume, or you're talking
Trading volume,
money
yeah,
winning?
$80 billion, right? Right, so it was actually exceeded. It was the highest volume day in crypto's history. Now, so Google put out a thing and they said, all right, so why has this happened? What has broken that caused crypto to go boom once more, and will it come back? Have a guess what the results were.
Do tell.
There were several results which I can't remember because they were minor, but 48.7% of people, I don't worry about it, 48.7% of people Said because of the April Fool's joke.
Really?
Yeah, that SEC thing. 48% of people believe that the crypto boom, the current little mini boom, the little bull run, has been because of that April Fool's joke. It far exceeded any other explanation that they got back. Isn't that amazing? So, ladies and gentlemen, if you wonder if cryptocurrency, if you can do the normal chart analysis and all of that, some people do and they're quite successful. Not saying you can't, but if you're wondering if that is the way to go with this, take that as a little hint that you just don't know.
No, and look, the reality is that's just what the majority of the people responding to that poll thought. The reality is there's someone out there who has probably got a better idea, and they're not telling anyone. Pump
and dump was the next biggest one.
Was it?
Pump and dump.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
except it hasn't. For those who don't know, it means people pump it, get it rise, then dump it when it's up top. Therefore, it'll come back down again.
But it's still holding above the 4.9 at the moment, and,
which is good.
We'll see.
Which is good.
Yeah, look, I mean, who knows? In a few days, it may just drop down. I read another article this morning suggesting that we still haven't hit the bottom. So someone's still suggesting.
I hope it's hit the bottom.
Yeah, well, you and me both, but who knows? And that's the fun of this game, right?
Yeah, I like seeing my $7,000 in Bittrex at 700. 10%'s okay. If it goes below that, that 300 mark again, where I've got like 3%, I'm beginning to get sad once more.
And we don't like a sad Chris.
That's right.
There's no fun in that.
I've written it off anyway. One day, look, maybe it'll come good for me. I don't know. But one day, one of my kids or one of my grandkids, they might say, holy shit, look, Grandpa had all these red coins. Everyone laughed at him. They're worth $100 each now. He's got 50,000 of them.
I doubt it. But anyway, not red coins.
You never know. Mate,
Stranger things
remember
have
back in 2009, you could buy Bitcoin for less than a quarter of a penny.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, so people would never have thought then $20,000 ever.
No, that's exactly right.
Remember that guy that had to make, and this is a true story, ladies and gentlemen. A fellow was sitting in America one day and he'd heard about this Bitcoin, and he had enough money to buy a pizza for dinner or Bitcoin, and that's all he had. Right? And he's like, what the hell? So he put his $25 that pizza would have cost him into Bitcoin, and he bought a whole bunch of Bitcoin. He then sat there because they weren't worth anything, and he told all his friends, I bought Bitcoin. And they all said, dude, why did you buy pizza? You're starving. Right? But he didn't do it. He didn't monitor that account because he just had some Bitcoin. Right? At the height of the boom in 2017, 18 was the bad year, 2017, he discovered that he had something like $65 million in those Bitcoin that he bought for $25. He sold them. So he'd gone from a normal run-of-the-mill guy to someone with $65 million because he bought them when they were tuppence halfpenny. Go Redcoin, go Redcoin.
Oh, dude. But do you realise it's a very similar story to actually the first online purchase with Bitcoin, which was actually, I think it was Papa John's Pizza.
Yeah.
Right? And it was 25,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah. Really? For a pizza?
Yeah.
And someone, oh my God, could you imagine it? Was that the Twinkle twins or something?
It was two pepperoni pizzas from Papa John's, right?
Wow.
And he offered 10,000 Bitcoins to anyone who would actually buy him the pizza and I think get it for him. And today that's worth 5 million plus in current prices.
In current prices, it's not bad. Yeah.
At the time, it was worth about $60, right?
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible, mate. But remember last year, that guy who lost his 7,000 Bitcoins, he lost his thing. He had them in a hard wallet and he lost it.
Yeah, there's so many stories. People who mined them originally back in the early days when you could just mine them on your normal PC. People who mined them and then the price dropped and people forgot about them, threw out the computer.
My son's one
gone.
He mined 2.5 Bitcoin.
Yeah, right.
Brad had 2.5 Bitcoin and he mined them in the early days. And he thought, oh, where are they? And he had them on a flash drive. And when he moved house, he just threw the flash drive in a drawer and he's never found it again.
Lost.
And lost. And when they were at $20,000 last year, boy, was he searching his house. But it was the third house he's been in, so, crazy.
Yeah,
all right, thank you for the Bitcoin update. What's next? We have our crazy news of the day. I want to start. Can I start?
You want to start? Okay, go.
Pick me. Right. What do we call Bill Shorten? Besides, a whole lot of names we're not allowed to say.
I got lots of ideas.
Our illustrious leader of the opposition. Now, last night I was telling my beautiful princess that the story about giving Qantas a really yay and everything yesterday.
Yep.
Right? And how asking, and Jacinta Ardern saying, can we please have over here, rather than have Bill Shorten, the word that I'm not allowed to call him. Now, let's just say Bill Shorten, ladies and gentlemen, has been accused, only accused, never cleared, but nothing happened because of due to lack of evidence. But he was accused of rape by this young lady from many, many years ago. Now, they went to the Victoria Police, and the Victoria Police found a whole lot of stuff, but the prosecutors decided they could not proceed because there was not enough evidence. He was not exonerated, very much like Trump, but they didn't proceed. So, what I'm not allowed to call him is a rapist. She's accused him of rape, right? So, Bill Shorten is not a rapist. I will be very clear about that. He has never been convicted of rape or whatever, but he has been accused of rape. So that accusation, in my view, and this is probably a serious bit of the podcast, in my view, that accusation should rule him out of being our Prime Minister forever. Because how can we have someone who is an accused rapist, not convicted, as the Prime Minister of this country?
Playing devil's advocate, anyone can accuse anybody of anything.
Absolutely.
And we don't know. It's one of these cases where we'll probably never know the truth of that story.
No, we will never know the truth of it. But the catch on it was that he was not cleared. He's put the political spin on it, saying I cooperated and I've now been cleared. No, he was not cleared. What they stated in their release was there is not enough evidence to get a conviction. Not that he was cleared. So to me, that means there's a grey area. Hey?
Is the case still open?
The lady's still pushing the case, yeah. Right? But they've said there's not enough evidence. They can't find a couple of key witnesses and so forth.
So how long ago did this supposedly happen?
Like 12 or 18 years ago. So it's quite a long time ago.
So again, you've got to ask the question, why now? He's been opposition leader for, I don't know.
No, it's not now. This has been ongoing for about 5 years.
Oh, really?
It's just resurfacing now. It's resurfacing now. I read an article last week that came out where the lady in question was saying that one of the reasons that they couldn't proceed was that one of the key witnesses, because it was allegedly witnessed, couldn't be found. She's now provided Victoria Police that person's address. So where it goes, who knows? But to me, that should be it. So what do we call Bill? We call him Bill. But please, ladies and gentlemen, I implore you, we have a parliament full of numpty heads. But let's not let that numpty head be Prime Minister. That's my 2 seconds. That's my first crazy bit of news.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
Right? Now, my next bit. I've got a much, much better one. Fatty Vaughton.
Oh, yeah, good old Fatty.
Fatty, for those that don't follow the NRL, Fatty Vaughton is a terrific... he was a fantastic league player, everything else, but his show that he established, the footy show, has been revamped and he's no longer on it, and so you don't see much of Fatty anymore. But last night in the Broncos, that Queensland team
over a year ago.
Yeah, that's right. But the Queensland team, I think they're called Broncos.
Well, they're one of the Queensland teams.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're called the Broncos.
Standing Queensland team. Yeah, the Broncos.
Yeah, the Broncos. Well, last night they got thrashed. Right? They absolutely got thrashed. Right, by who they play? I can't even see. Close, smashing the Broncos. Sorry, ladies and gents, I should have had this bit in front of me earlier. Right, so the Roosters thrashed them 36-4. Right? And they say that Fatty was in rare form. He called it one of those situations where you're at the movie and it's 10 minutes in and you just want to go home because the Broncos were atrocious. They missed more tackles last night than they've ever missed in their history. Right? And here you go. Here you go. So Jonathan Thurston was having a dig at the mullets during the after game show. At the mullets of a couple of
as in the
hairdos,
hairstyle.
the mullets. Yep, because Josh Dugan and Andrew Fafita from Cronulla both have mullets. And before he stopped having a dig at him, he wound back the clock of an image to Fatty Vaughton showing Jingle Lodge like having a mullet during his Origin days.
Oh, that's a great photo of him.
So he says, does the carpet match the curtains, Fatty? Fatty's response. Yeah, Fatty's response was classic. He goes, my missus, seriously? The first time she saw me and I was primed and ready to go, she looked and she said, oh my God, it's a red one. I've never seen a red one before. This is on national TV. So there you go. That is the light-hearted crazy news of the day. Apparently, Fatty's got a red one.
Talk about the news we didn't need to know.
I know. Hey, it's made national headlines.
No, has it really?
True story. It's the headline of it. And just ridiculous that Fatty gives away a little bit too much again.
Yeah, it's certainly not the first time he's done that.
Oh, God, it was funny. It was hilarious. All right, what's yours, my friend? What's your crazy news of the day?
Well, not so much a bit of crazy news, but a bit of an update. We talked yesterday about the budget and all that sort of stuff. And you talked about no money for fast rail.
Yeah.
Well, actually, sort of. There sort of is. Right? And I found on our Australian Government Department of Infrastructure site that there's currently work involved in developing business cases, right? So we've got the government's committed to invest 20 million in faster rail business cases for Sydney to Newcastle link, and Melbourne to Greater Shepparton, and Brisbane to the regions of Moreton Bay and the Sunshine Coast. Right? So these business cases are due to be completed mid-2019. So maybe they might get done by 2020 if we're lucky. We'll see. Yeah. And then they'll be considered by the government. So, same old story.
My bitch is that where's the Canberra to Sydney? It's not there.
Melbourne. So we've got Sydney. So we've got Sydney to Newcastle, Melbourne
to
the
Greater Shepparton, and Brisbane.
And Brisbane to the
regions of Moreton Bay and Sunshine Coast.
Yeah. So why aren't they connecting up?
Well, it's a national capital, and there's been talk of the fast rail linking Canberra to Sydney in a 1-hour trip for 15 years now. Where is it? Where's the study? They've done studies. Where's the money? Fork it up.
Oh, here we go. The government will fund an additional 5 business cases for fast rail between Sydney and Wollongong, Sydney and Parkes via Bathurst and Orange, Melbourne and Albury-Wodonga, Melbourne and Tarragong, and Brisbane and the Gold Coast. Is it Tarragong? Yeah, okay. I can't remember.
Tarragong, yeah.
And Brisbane and the Gold Coast.
Uh-huh.
So wouldn't that then link up if we've got Sydney, Parkes via Bathurst?
Nowhere near us.
Melbourne to Albury-Wodonga, which is 4 hours from Canberra.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tarragong. Yeah.
There you go. So we're going to have all these little... maybe
little fast trains.
This is the start. Maybe this is the start of the network, mate. We're putting in the key bits,
Brisbane
and then we'll
to
link
the Gold
them all
Coast. Brisbane to the Gold Coast. How fast is the train going to get going there?
We've already got rail from Brisbane to the Gold Coast.
Exactly. So you put a fast rail in. Now, fast rail, if you go in Japan, they do 300 kilometres an hour. You go in Europe, they're doing 200 kilometres an hour. Go Brisbane to the Gold Coast. How fast are they going to get up to? Because if they get up to 200 kilometres an hour and then have to put the brakes on and stop a 50-ton train in time to get to the Gold Coast, everyone's going to have whiplash.
Yeah, that's right. It's like those short flights, right? Sydney to Canberra. You sort of just start to climb, and then you sort of get to height, and then you drop, and then you start to decline, to come in for land. So it's the same sort of deal.
Really quick story on that. You know how they say there's no time for service, and they sort of throw a half-frozen muffin at you or whatever, and by the time they walk down the 30 metres of the aeroplane, it's time to land.
Yeah.
Back in the late 80s, I was on a ship in Sydney, and my girlfriend was here in Canberra, and so I'd spend the weekend here. Quite often I'd fly back to Sydney on the Monday morning. Now, as a junior sailor at that time, i.e. not a senior sailor, that I had to be back on the ship at 0740 because at 0741 I would be on a charge absent without leave, right? So you can't be late.
No.
Right? There was no avenue to be late. So I would catch the first flight out of Canberra at 0700.
Right.
Right? It would land in Sydney at 0720, 20 minutes.
Yeah, right.
That's no bull.
That's pretty
now
quick.
It takes 50. It used to take 20, right?
So why is it different?
Because of the speeds and the noise. Because now we've got all the environmental stuff on the engines and everything else, and they've got to fly higher and all sorts of stuff, right?
Okay.
But that was with either Ansett or Qantas. I'm not sure if they were still TAA there or Australian Airlines. That used to get breakfast. They used to serve a hot breakfast
in 20 minutes.
In those 20 minutes, they come through and you get breakfast. Used to do it all the time.
That would be the fastest brekkie you'd have.
Yeah, and then I'd get out in Sydney. I wouldn't have bags. I'd walk straight down, get into a taxi, and I was always at the ship by 0740. 40 minutes after I left Canberra.
That's crazy. You would never.
You couldn't do it today.
Oh, look, you got to allow 3 hours to get from Canberra to Sydney.
Yeah, it's just
on a good day.
Insane. It's insane how it used to change, or how it has changed. All right.
There you go.
What's this about your tax relief? Tell me about the tax. You mentioned something about tax.
So we talked about the budget and all that sort of stuff. By the way, I'll put links into these pages on the show notes, so you can access it yourself.
I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, these whole 8 episodes, they're going to go out there pretty quick. And unfortunately for Stacy, but fortunately for me, I'm actually travelling over the next 10 days. So when Stacy says he's going to put stuff in the show notes, mate, can you please make sure you don't miss anything?
Yeah, good on you. I'll give it a best shot, but there's no guarantees, right?
Well, yeah, good on you. I'll be too busy riding the motorbike.
Yeah, I was going to say, while you're trapped around the countryside having a good old time yourself, I'll do the work. It's all right.
Okay, thank you. One of us has to.
Indeed. All right, so if you're curious about what the budget actually means for you, right, they've got a tax relief estimator on the budget.gov.au site where you can go in and find out how much tax you're going to get back. Stop moving it up and down. Well, come on, keep with it.
Yep, go for it.
So it's got a slide. You can actually put in your actual income and it'll give you the exact amounts, right, over the financial year. So remember I said that the major tax reliefs weren't actually going to come in until 2024 in yesterday's podcast or episode 7.
Punch in 100 slide it up to 150,000.
I'll slide it. I'll do a couple of things so we can see what the differences are, right? So starting at 20,000, it's all tax free to 20,000, so there's nothing. So at the lower income levels, you're going to be getting about $255 in tax relief, which is pretty decent for low income earners, right? And that doesn't change until we get to about about the 30.
Everyone's the same here. Everyone's the same.
No, it does go when you get up to about 35,000. It does start to jump up a bit. Yeah. Right, so now we're getting into about $400.
I meant the savings over the years. Oh yeah, now it's
annual reduction. Yeah, okay. So if you're looking at the financial years, yes. So for the next 4 financial years, nothing's really going to change much. We've got a little bit of a tax relief, but nothing's going to change much until the 22-23 financial year. Then you get a little bit of an increase. So if we then go up to say 50,000, which is what's our average? I think it's about 55,000. I don't know what it is actually. I have to find out. So about 50,000, you get about 1,000. You'll get the 1,080 tax relief that they've been promising. Okay, and that'll basically stay the same right through until 2024, and then you'll get 1,200. All right. Yep. So if we now jump that up until about 75,000. No, you're still the 1,080 tax relief that you'll get over the coming years. And 2024, that will jump up to $1,800. Yeah. Right? If we go to 100,000, bring it back. So about 100,000, you'll be getting $913 in tax relief. Yeah. Now that's interesting. It's actually dropped from the $1,000 that you would have had at 75,000, right? Yeah. So 913 in the 2022 financial year, that'll jump up to 1,669. And in the 2024 year, that'll jump up to $3,000. Yeah. Right? So it becomes a bit more significant as you obviously go up in your income. we bring our tax rate up to say 125. You're only getting $157 tax relief at 125, right? So for the next 4 years, if you're on about 125,000, I think, let me drop that back. Yeah, it's on a sliding scale from about 100,000. So as soon as you go over 100,000, the scale slides right back until you get to about 125, where your tax relief is only $148. In 2022, that'll jump to 2,500. In 2024, that'll jump up to 4,800. Right? But you got to wait until 2024 for that to happen.
The catch on that is 2024-25 will 100% depend upon the coalition being in power from now.
And because what happens with the economy from now until then?
Yeah, but the second that they lose the election, that's gone.
Yeah, yep. At 150,000, we're still only at $135 tax relief for the year.
Wow.
So say over a year, who cares, right? 2022, you'll get 2,500. In 2024, you'll get 6,500, right?
Yeah.
If we now can't bring it up to, so the current top tax bracket cuts in at about 180,000.
Yeah.
So if we come up to about 180,000, right? So let's go just fraz under 180,000. Still only $135 tax relief for the next 4 years. Yeah. At 2022, we'll get 2,500, and at 2024, 8,600, right? If we then bring that up to just under 200,000. So at 200,000, same story, still only $135 tax break until 2024, 2,500. But at 2022, still 2,500 relief. 2024, you'll jump up to $11,500, right? Yeah. Because they're going to push that top tax bracket is going to push up to 200,000 a year.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, and I like how they call it tax relief. I mean, the reality is they're just allowing you to have more of your own money, right?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, tax. You've earned the money, right? And these mongrels are taking it from us, and we're going to give you some relief. So we're going to give you a bit more of your money back, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so you can have a play with that, but you can plug in your actual income into it, and it'll give you the exact figures of what you'll get. So so that's, as you said, the assumption this is based on is that the Liberals get voted in, and they're still here in 2024, and the economy still looks the same. Now the interesting thing about that is yesterday's podcast, or episode 7, we looked at some of the budget figures and the assumptions that they were making, and in particular around GDP growth. Right?
It's fantasy land.
Well, there's a really good site called Trading Economics, right? They've been around for a long time, and their estimates are a little bit different. So they're sort of saying current actual GDP growth, annual growth is about 2.3, right? So they're suggesting that's going to drop down a little bit, okay?
Yeah.
But through the quarters, they're showing percentages of 0.7, 0.8, 0.8, 0.3. So quarter one next year, they're anticipating a drop, and then 0.8 in 2020. Now the federal or their estimates, they're looking at 2.7, 3.
Yeah.
It's a big difference, right? It's like, so all these figures and everything we're looking at are based on these assumptions. Now, if those figures don't come true...
It's all based on analysis. It's all based on people making assumptions of what the world markets are going to do, what the Australian markets are going to do, and everything else.
It's a big guessing game.
Absolutely. So what we'll do, ladies and gentlemen, is we'll put links to all of these things in the show notes, so that anyone who wants to do a deep dive down into it, rather than delve too deeply into it now...
No, we're not going to do that. And I don't have the knowledge to go that deep into it. But here, I want to show you this.
We don't want to mislead you. We will put them up, and you can see it. Oh my God!
Check this out. There is a site just in terms of world economy, and one of the major impacts to the world economy. There's a site called usdebtclock.org, and they have the world debt clocks. Now, this is brilliant, right? So this is literally a clock showing the change in national debt as well as the gross domestic product for countries, okay, and their public debt to GDP ratios. So right at the top is US with $22 trillion, right? And just continually ticking over every second as we watch it, right? We scroll down to find Australia. So we're currently sitting at $650 billion of national debt, okay, which is 45% of our so this is only public debt. So this is not the full everyone's debt. This is just the public debt. Is almost half of our GDP.
Yeah.
All right.
What's Americans in percentage on their GDP?
68%.
Wow, sucks to be them.
Yeah. But look at this, Japan, 258%.
Wow.
Is their public debt to GDP. UK is at 97%. France is 105. Italy 140.
Canada's at 96.
Canada's at 96. Well, there's a lot of Canada's heading for a recession according to all the latest pundits and everything going on there. So there's some.
Look at Russia. Russia's only at 17%.
Where was that one? I missed that one.
Go down.
Yes. Now Russia in particular. They talk a lot about Russia, but they've been doing some smart stuff in the recent years. And they've been selling off their US dollars and getting gold. They've been buying a shit ton of gold, right? Yeah. And you can see it, right? So they've reduced their debt right down. So if in a major global economic crisis that we may well be heading to, Russia's going to be looking pretty sweet.
You're not wrong. Based on that, though, Australia's not looking too bad either. Compared to many other countries.
There are a lot worse. There are certainly a lot worse. We're probably sitting middle ground to a lot of people, but our external debt to GDP is 144%. That's a bit of a concern, right? Yeah, that's getting up there, right? Yeah. And the reason why that's a real concern is that it's very much pegged to our Australian dollar. So if our Australian dollar drops dramatically, which it could do if commodity prices drops a lot, that could hurt us a lot. So anyway,
I'm not quite sure that I'd like to be Ireland. They're 978%.
Ireland, they're they're definitely struggling too, no doubt about it.
Wow, that's a really good site, Stace. Make sure that
it's really cool. It's really cool. Yeah.
All right.
So anyway,
okay, fantabulous. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for the beef of the day. This is one of those fabulous little ones. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, but I'm going to tell you a story. All right? So, I love when you tell stories. Hang on, bear with me. You love a good story, especially when I'm doing it. Okay, here comes my screen. You guys should be able to see it. Now, what you're seeing up there, has it come through yet, Stace?
Yes, mate. I'm looking at a rather muscly-looking physique.
That's right.
With a pretty arm sleeve.
That sleeve he has on his arm, on that incredibly muscular arm there, is one of those UV protective sleeves.
So you just took a selfie wearing did you?
No, not quite. It's a UV protective sleeve for things like when you play golf and you don't want to wear a long sleeve shirt. You stick that on under there, it's cool, it protects you from sunburn and everything else. Now you can see, I'll just move my mouse, it goes from right up on his bicep all the way down to his wrist.
Yes.
Right, and you buy 3 of them. Now, you can go to the golf shop and you can pay $30 for a pair, or you can go into eBay and you can buy 3 of exactly the same thing for a quarter of that price, right? Ooh. So I did that. I thought, eBay? Absolutely, eBay is fantabulous. Now, I'm about to hold up here. Everyone can see this incredibly masculine picture on this ad.
Stop sharing your screen so we can see a bigger picture of your camera.
Oh yeah, I forgot that you can't see that while that's up there. I was about to show it anyway. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, what arrived, remembering the guy, is these.
Okay, so
there's a very pretty young Asian, same stuff. There's a very pretty young Asian lady there, right? And she's wearing these sleeves. And
she's golfing.
Yeah, she's golfing, and I thought, well, they've just used them and everything else. And so I opened them.
Yep.
And there it is.
So if people aren't watching this on the video, Chris has just held up what looks like a little white sock.
Now there you go. It's halfway through my bicep. It doesn't quite come down my arm.
So it goes to just above your bicep to just a bit over your elbow.
So, it does, but I've actually tried it on. It has to stretch quite tight because it's obviously made for a lady.
It's compression.
Right? It's compression, and it's obviously made for a lady. So therefore, if I want to put it up, it sits there. So
it's an elbow guard. Are you sure they didn't send you an elbow guard?
Oh, mate, dead set. I'm looking at this thinking, really? I've ordered one with this guy. He's got muscles coming out of his gazoo, right? And shows one that fits him, and I get that. Now, granted, it's probably, except for an African American, it's probably a little bit too big for a condom. But it sure as shit doesn't fit my arm. eBay, thank you. There's my beef for the day. Buyer beware.
Buyer beware indeed. Yeah, sometimes the advertisement doesn't match the reality.
It doesn't, but by the same token, I bought so much through eBay that has matched the reality. It's been infinitely cheaper than going down to the local store. It's just made with cheaper shit, but it's worked out.
Yeah, fair enough.
What about you? You got a beef for the day?
Oh, mate, I got a beef for the day, and I love hammering the banks. So here's my little story.
I've never noticed that about you.
Which is pretty funny because one of my best friends, who I've known since he was a teenager, he's worked in one of the big four for all his life. So I often give him shit about it. But I received a letter from one of the big banks. I won't say which one. Where our current mortgage is for our home. And it just tells me there's an update to your loan repayment. And, following all the news and everything that's been going on, I immediately looked at this and gone, oh, what are they up to now? Yep. And as I quickly look over it, they say every year we review your loan repayments. And then there's this capital letters, your minimum home loan repayment is increasing. So naturally I'm going, what the fuck? What are these guys doing now? There's been no rise in interest rates from the RBA. So are these mongrels putting the interest rates up again? As
they tend to do.
As they tend to do. And of course, in the first sentence says, since our last review, the interest rate applied to your home loan has increased. And I've gone, you bastards, you're bloody increasing the interest rate again. And then it tells me how much my fortnightly repayment's going to be. So I get onto my mortgage broker, and I've given the keyboard warrior a go, and I've gone, this is not acceptable. I'm not accepting an interest rate rise. Yes, I know I'm on a variable interest rate on this thing, but the RBA has not increased the rates. This is simply a cash grab because you bastards are in trouble from the Royal Commission, and you're just going to make me pay for your bloody mistakes, and I'm not taking it. And tell them if they don't leave my interest rate alone, we're going to move banks, right? And I've gone off. And so anyway, she calls me and says, oh, look, we completely understand. We understand your position. Let me talk to they got their own account managers directly to banks and stuff. And anyway, so a few days go by and I didn't hear from them. And anyway, so she calls me back today and she said, when did you get that letter? And I pulled it up and I said, 12th of March, so it's almost a month ago, and she said, because we're not seeing a change in your interest rate. And I went, oh, really? So what's the letter about? She said, well, can you read it out? So anyway, so I've stopped and had a look. And she said, what they've done, and when I've read it now after she's explained it, it makes sense. And she said, what they've done is they've changed the way they calculate your repayments, right? So the old story that if you pay your repayments fortnightly instead of monthly, you can reduce the amount of interest you pay over time, right?
That's right, because it's 26
because you're making more regular payments. Yeah. Correct, right? Yeah. So usually the way they calculate that is they just simply take your monthly payment, they multiply it by 12 to get your yearly rate, divide by 26 to get your fortnightly figure, right? Now, what they have found is that in some cases, because of the way the days may fall, you may actually get slightly behind on your payments on some months simply because of the way the dates fall with your repayment dates, right? So what they've done is instead of doing an accurate fortnightly figure, they've taken the monthly figure and just divided it by 2.
Yep.
So what that would effectively mean is you'll pay a little bit more.
Increases your payments,
over the
but you're
year.
Still paying on the same interest rate, yeah.
Exactly. So the interest rate actually hadn't changed. My fortnightly repayments had gone up, but to enable us to pay a little bit more to keep ahead so that we don't have that case where because of a certain date may fall, we actually fall a little bit behind. Now, I actually agree with that. I think that's a great idea, right? But the bloody idiots, these banks, the way they've worded this, right?
Yeah, but it's a great idea. I'm sorry, keep going.
Well, I'm just saying, right, the banks actually have an opportunity here to be sensible, do something that's actually good for somebody. But because of the way they've worded it, I've straight away jumped on the defensive. When if they just worded and explained it, like they don't explain this at all in the letter. They just tell me,
okay,
your repayments have gone up, right? And it's like, well, hang on.
my turn to play devils. My turn to play devils, all right? Imagine a family, because I don't know how much yours has gone up, but imagine a family with the average mortgage where they're paying, I don't know, a couple of $1,000 a month.
It's gone up $23 a fortnight.
Okay.
$23.08.
Now, the government spruiks about $23 or $200 a year all the time, i.e. the tax cut. We're giving you a tax cut, $135 a year. Wow, huge amount of money, right? But $20-something a fortnight, all right? So multiply that by 26, $520 a year, okay?
Sure.
Imagine a family who is actually struggling, and the bank has previously worked it out on 26 fortnights, right? So they've done it by 12 divided by 26 because that allowed the people to get the loan. And that's how one of the reasons they used to do it, is it allowed people to get the loan because it reduces their outgoings per fortnight. So imagine a family who is struggling, and then suddenly they're getting that and they're saying, holy shit. Or a family who is overextended already, right, because of circumstance or whatever. No fault, no blame being attributed. Yep. Right? And suddenly they're getting this and they've got 20, 30, 40, $50 extra a fortnight that they've got to find. It actually has an impact. So while I understand what you're saying about you agree with it because it gets them ahead, they're still not looking after their customers because many of their customers are going to struggle with that.
Yeah, I sort of hear you, but the reality is if they're really struggling, they probably won't have a mortgage as high as we do.
No, that's correct.
And if they are, they probably should go to a cheaper place.
Yeah,
but as a percentage, I know what you're saying, but as a percentage...
Yeah, but the reality is people lose their jobs. Things change.
They do.
Circumstances change.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the banks aren't really doing a favour. What they're doing is getting more cash into their coffers quicker in the same way the tax department does by saying you now have to pay your tax monthly rather than yearly.
Yeah, sure. Look, the reality is it's about, I don't know, what's that about? Maybe 4% difference in terms of what they're paying. So if they're...
4% could be a kid's lunch.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I mean, if your repayments are around, $1,000, it's $40. Yeah. So
exactly, and that's what I mean.
Not right. No.
The 4%, $1,000, 10%, 1,000 is 100. So 1% is 10. Yeah, $40. Yeah, that's right. Yep. Right, but I know you normally hate the banks and you're saying they've done a good thing, and whilst I understand the good part of that is you will get ahead on your mortgage, in reality what they're doing is getting more money into their coffers quicker, and that it will hurt the people who are borderline or struggling. So screw the banks, I'm still going to screw the banks.
Yeah, but look, the other thing too is if you are struggling, it does actually get you ahead a little bit quicker, and it does give you a little bit of a buffer.
But does it help
you
daily
give you a little
struggle?
bit of a buffer. No,
because I've got a quick bank story for you as well. Tell me if I told this one the other day, so I'm not sure if I did. We got a letter off Westpac, right, telling us on the 30th, we got the letter on the 1st of April, but on the 30th of March, we got a phone call last Saturday off Westpac saying that the home loan on our investment property was $53 in arrears as at the 28th of March, 2 days prior. Right? So they're ringing us 2 days after it's gone into arrears. And they're saying, can you tell us now whether you are going to actually fix this issue as this may impact your credit rating? right? Within 48 hours. And we're like, what? So we checked the home loan. The home loan is not in arrears at all. But Westpac are ringing us. Now, they provided us all of the information, i.e. account numbers, date of birth, all that. So we knew that it was legit. We weren't being asked to provide anything, so it wasn't a scam. But they're ringing on a Saturday afternoon to have a go at us because our home loan is $53 in arrears. So on Monday, 1st of April...
Is that because of what we've just been talking about? Because you pay a fortnightly...
Don't know. It could be, right? But on Monday, we ring the Westpac hotline and say, hey, we got this phone call on Saturday stating this. And they said, yeah, no, that's correct. We did actually call. But however, now that what they threatened, and it was a threat, that if we didn't bring it up to date, it was going to impact our credit rating. $53, right?
That's ridiculous.
48 hours later. What they then told us on Monday
But they come to that, it should be 60 days. Anyway.
Exactly. We got a letter of demand arrived in the mail on the Monday as well.
What?
A letter of demand, right, for that $53, right? But what they told us when we called was, sorry, that's a computer error. Your account wasn't in arrears.
No.
And we will now send you a letter confirming that this will not impact your credit rating.
Oh, shit.
Right? So...
we're
like,
guys are good.
What? So
they're good.
I'm going back to, I understand what you're saying, but screw the big banks because that's how they're treating people now. It's incredible. 2 days, $53, and they're threatening to black mark us on the credit rating when it turns out it's a computer error on their part. What if they hadn't found that error before they put a black mark on your credit rating? Because getting a mark removed from your credit rating in Australia is incredibly difficult.
Yeah, it is.
Right? Incredibly difficult.
Wow, that's crazy.
Screw the banks. They're not here to help us. They're just getting their own coffers filled early.
Oh, look, banks are banks. Right? If there's a way to make money, they'll bloody do it, right?
They'll make money. Yep.
But anyway, I just checked because the 4% sounded like it was too much. It's actually only a bit over a 1% increase in my sort of
so it's
repayments.
$10.
Yeah. So.
Okay, cool.
Anyway.
All right. That, ladies and gentlemen, probably brings us to the end of episode 8. However, before we go, I just want to give you one tiny little snippet again on my favourite man, the man who should never be Prime Minister. Last night, Lee Sales, what's her name? Is it Lee or Lay?
I think it's Lee.
You think it's Lee
I've
Sales?
heard it pronounced as Lee.
Yep. Lee Sales interviewed Bill Shorten about his budget reply, and she wanted to ask him a blunt question, and she said she doesn't want to seem rude. However, right? She said to him, you know that opinion polls for a long time have shown that your personal popularity is a bit lackluster. What would you say to Australian voters who think, geez, I just don't like Bill Shorten very much, or that Bill Shorten bloke very much. I don't know if I can vote for him. His answer, right? Apart from wait until you see me and see our Fair Go plan in action, wait until you meet me and see our Fair Go plan in action, she said, not every voter is going to be able to meet you in person. And so here he came. Here came his answer to the question.
Okay, ready.
Do they dislike everything going up except their wages? Are they frustrated that their adult children can't get into the housing market? Are they annoyed there's been no action on climate change? That's it. Right? That's it.
Okay.
How does that answer? People don't like you, Bill. What are you going to do about
it? That's a typical politician dodge.
Politician's answer.
I can't answer the question. So I'm going to go to something else.
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, once more, please don't let that numpty head be our PM. They're all numpty heads. Let's bring Jacinta Ardern across.
I don't know. You can start a campaign on that. I don't know how successful you'll be, mate, but you can try.
Hey, look, when they started with Grant Denyer for the Gold Logie last year, did you see that? You ever follow the Logies?
No, mate, I really couldn't be bothered.
They have, nor can most people, right? But they have the most popular actor, the Gold Logie, and it's the biggest win in Australian television. They started to punt for Grant. They started to vote for Grant Denyer as a joke because he no longer had a television program.
Right.
He wasn't on TV.
Oh, wasn't he? Okay.
He won it.
So he won the award for for the most
Without
popular
a joke.
personality on television
TV.
without being on television.
Because one of the comedians, I can't remember which one, started it at a live show that he was doing, let's vote for Grant! And it spread, and he won the Gold Logie. So, Jacinta, we love you. Come over.
Yeah,
on that
I
note,
don't know
ladies
if
and
your
gentlemen.
please going to help.
I know. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Two Crazy Guys, One Crazy World, episode 8. Have a wonderful day.
Don't forget to send us in your comments, feedback, and questions.
At our new Gmail address.
Well, I haven't created it yet.
Yes, we are. It's going to be twocrazyguys@gmail.com.
Well, hopefully, because I haven't checked if that's even available.
Otherwise, we'll give you a different address next time. Anyway, okay.
Well, it'll be in the show notes. I promise.
It will be in the show notes. Check the show notes.
Or you can send it to the old one, which is twocrazyguys@lifefreedom.solutions. That one will still work, I promise.
Yeah, I can't remember that, so how you're remembering has got me bugging.
It'll be in the show notes, dude.
Do I have to say a third goodbye here or what? Are you going to say it now? Have a great day,
I'll say
ladies and
goodbye.
gentlemen.
See you, everyone.
Right.
Be happy.
Bye.
See ya.
Be happy, be nice, or otherwise be me. Bye.
No, bye.